My mother-in-law is a witch, no other way to put it. We got married earlier this month and it was a beautiful day, despite mother-in-law showing up in a slinky white cocktail dress. I'll admit I had some fantasies about a bridesmaid doing the red wine thing, but they're terrified of her. By the end of the night, her dress was messed up because she had way too much fun. There was a wine stain. It was all dirty and she was soaking wet. Mother-in-law very much partied too hard and did that to herself. My uncle has a huge crush on her and gave her a VIP tour of our grandparents' farm. I'm petty, so I took some pictures. When we got our photos, everyone told me how awful she was for wearing that dress, so I showed them how it looked at the end of the night. Of course they wanted the story, so I told them someone spilled red wine on her, which was technically true. I smirked and said she ended up in the dirt and then took a tumble in the lake. My friends were so happy someone stood up for me. When mother-in-law heard, she called me pathetic and childish. She claimed she doesn't care what people think, but I think I embarrassed her because she then posted her own picture in the ruined dress, trying to show off how happy she was. Am I the idiot for showing people embarrassing pictures of my mother-in-law wearing white at my wedding and letting them think the worst? Everyone's the idiot here. God, you're both children. It's alarming that you think it's cute to brag about having your gang of bridesmaids assault someone. You implied that they ruined her dress, knocked her down in the mud, then shoved her in a lake. Those things are all just gross behavior, not to mention criminal. If someone wears something inappropriate to a wedding and you're upset about it, you put on your big girl panties and ask them to leave. You do not have your cronies destroy their property and/or assault them. That's disgusting, and you think it's cute. And while not criminal, taking pictures of your mother-in-law embarrassing herself to shame her later publicly is just childish. Does your mother-in-law think it's just so cool to show what a sloppy, intoxicated mess she was at her child's wedding? Look at me, having so much fun behaving like an idiotic frat boy. Ugh, that's just pathetic. Really, you should be sad for her if that's what she has to brag about, and you stoop to her level. You both behave like 14-year-old mean girls. Where's your husband during all of this? He's on my side completely. They went from being close to hardly speaking, but I didn't want him to not have his mom there on his wedding day when he had made so many sacrifices. He still loves her even if he knows they can't have much of a relationship. I don't want him to have no one. His bio dad is vile, and mother-in-law is for all purposes an orphan, so he'd really have no family. I guess I wish someone had ruined the dress for me. She was having fun and wouldn't be embarrassed about what she did to the dress, and it kind of sucks she was having so much fun with my family. She played witch games and then won witch prizes, and those photos will be a constant reminder of that. However, it sounds like your mother-in-law isn't the issue, your husband is. Inviting someone he was hardly speaking to was a recipe for disaster. Get her out of his life. Help him. Sometimes having no bio parents around is better than pushing your partner into having a terrible bio parent around. How do you go from rude, witchy mother-in-law to her husband being the issue? Do you think he bought his mom her dress? Did OP say he was angry about OP showing the pictures? No, to all of the above. Honestly, everyone's missing the point of the wedding day, celebrating your union, not nursing lifetime grudges. While mother-in-law's behavior was out of line, the energy spent on this drama is energy not spent on your relationship. It's time to refocus on what truly matters, you and your husband. No one comes out looking like the victor in these petty wars. Move forward, love each other, and let the mishaps of the wedding become faint, ludicrous memories that barely register in your decades of marriage to come. Remember, the best revenge is living well, and without giving her antics another thought. I, 33 female, have been living in my own home for a few years. I bought it with my own money and have worked hard to make it a comfortable and safe place after growing up in a volatile environment. My parents, 60s, have always been terrible with money, constantly making poor financial decisions, despite my efforts to help them budget. Recently, they lost their house due to foreclosure. They contacted me asking if they could move in temporarily while they get back on their feet. 2 additional adults would stretch my house's limits, and I value my privacy and independence. More importantly, my parents have a history of being overbearing and disrespecting my boundaries. The last time my parents stayed with me, they criticized everything about my lifestyle, rearranged furniture without asking, and even argued with one of my neighbors. I offered to help them find an affordable rental and even pay their first month's rent. I also found government assistance programs they could apply for. They refused, saying that families should stick together and that it was my duty to help them in their time of need. My siblings are divided. My older brother thinks I'm heartless, while my younger sister understands my concerns. Both live in smaller apartments, so they don't have the option to host my parents. My parents have been guilt-tripping me, saying they took care of me growing up, and now it's my turn to take care of them. My parents are now telling extended family that I'm abandoning them, and I'm getting messages from relatives. It's making me second-guess my decision, even though I know my mental health would suffer if they moved in. Am I the idiot for refusing to let my parents move in with me after they lost their house? Should I be more willing to accommodate them? Or am I right to stick to my own well-being and boundaries? I'm feeling very conflicted. Not the idiot. Once your parents move into your house, they'll never leave. They have a plan, and there will always be a plausible reason why they can't move out yet. They won't stay with you until they get back on their feet. You're their retirement plan. Notice, this particular disaster didn't befall them before you established your solo household. As others have said, you are their retirement plan, their homeless plan, their disaster plan, their medical emergency plan. There is and are no other plans. We deserve our peace, especially in our home. They think they deserve your peace. No way. You offered another way of being helpful through financial means, etc. You are helping your family in need. They turned it down. For your own sake, mental health and well-being, do not let them move in. They have turned to guilting you so you'll forget all about their past behaviors and hopefully be convinced that family does come first. I'm calling BS. They can contact the government assistance program, friends, or even a homeless shelter. Just because they're family doesn't mean they can abuse your kindness and disrespect your boundaries. Hold fast and stick to your guns. My sister's husband, Mark, left her and their twin son, Alex, about a year ago. His reason was that Alex was too difficult to deal with. I think Mark is a piece of crap who blames his son for everything. Alex is a bit hyper and gets into trouble for being distracted, impulsive, etc., but he's not a bad kid. He loved his dad very much, but he's not stupid. He quickly figured out why his dad had left and hated his guts. Not that I blame him. He's been through a lot, and to put it very plainly, he thinks his mom might just up and leave one day too. Because of this, there will be nights when he won't go to sleep until his mom sits with him. My sister would never abandon him like his dad did, but Alex is way too anxious. He used to wake up several times throughout the night just to make sure she was still there. He's loads better now, and my sister can go to bed in her room after putting him to sleep. Obviously, we don't tell anyone in our lives about this, as it would be extremely embarrassing for Alex. I only know because I currently live with them. I'm helping around the house and with Alex. Unfortunately, Mark called a couple of nights ago, wanting to apologize, allegedly. He and my sister had a nasty fight about Alex, and my sister ended up telling Mark about the sleeping problem. Mark was surprised, allegedly, but just hung up. I figured he felt some guilt towards his son for once, but I heard Alex going crazy in his room. When I went to calm him down, he just showed me his phone. He got exactly 3 texts from his dad telling him to man up, stop annoying his mom, and if he didn't man up, he'd tell all of Alex's friends. I was appalled. The second my sister came home, I marched straight to Mark's mom's house where I knew Mark was staying and chewed him out. I don't think I'm the idiot for that. He deserved it. But Mark's mom, his sisters, and their husbands and kids were home, and I told them what Mark had been saying about his own child. I didn't have to. It was none of their business. But I knew they adored Alex, and his mom was extremely angry. One of his sisters even went, "What is wrong with you?" Now Mark's mom is giving him a week to find somewhere else to live, and he's yelling at me for essentially making him homeless and dragging his entire family into things. He called me a dumb kid and said that I don't know what it feels like to be a parent and that he's human too. He admits that he could have been more decent with Alex too, so perhaps he's reflecting. I doubt it. I suppose I went too far regardless. Am I the idiot? For reference, I'm 21. My sister's 34 and Mark is 35. Not the idiot. You didn't make him homeless. You just made him accountable. To be honest, I'm pleasantly surprised by Mark's family's response. Your sister's the one you should be asking, "Am I the idiot though?" as she's the one that's going to face the fallout. Alex is lucky to have aunts and uncles, including you, who stick up for him, and I hope he's able to see and engage with that love. Frankly, I hope your sister keeps Mark out of Alex's life, but that's not something you can push for. It would need to be her and/or Alex's decision. I would have totally told brother-in-law to man the heck up. He's living with his mommy. He ran out on his responsibility because his tween is acting like a tween. He's 35, not an 18-year-old. He obviously doesn't give a crap how his kid feels. I would not have been so nice. And I would also advise your sister to get a screenshot of the text messages he sent to his son. It's the best ammo to use with a judge, stating that he doesn't care about his kid. You held him accountable, and now his parents don't want to deal with him since he messed around and found out. My parents had me when they were really young. They're still together now and had 2 more kids, my sisters Katie and Jess, later on. I'm almost 15 and 17 years older than my sisters, respectively. Because of the age gap, we didn't really grow up together, and sometimes I feel more like an uncle than a big brother to them. I've been fortunate in my career to do relatively well, and I've been generous with them regarding things like birthdays, Christmas, and graduations. My sister Katie got married 2 summers ago and had your typical traditional wedding. I'd guess around 125 people were there. It was very nice and not cheap. I don't know how much they spent, but I know my parents and her husband's family could only contribute about half the cost. The rest was my sister and her husband paying for it. They were super cool and let me and my wife bring our 2 kids, even though I later found out the venue charged the same for kids as adults for the food and everything. It meant a lot, and I don't want their inclusion to be a burden, so my wife and I gave them $500 as a wedding present to cover our plates and a little extra. My sister Jess has always been more low-key. When she got engaged, she told us all she'd likely elope, and nobody tried to convince her otherwise because it made sense for them. They aren't flashy and have always seemed pretty frugal. They're not the types to throw a big wedding that costs tens of thousands. They announced a couple of weeks ago that they eloped in the mountains with just them and the necessary witness. I was happy for them and didn't feel like I missed out on anything. I've been to enough weddings that I don't have FOMO. I'm just happy that they had what felt right for them. Since they didn't have a wedding, I didn't think to get them a wedding present because, no wedding. But they did just go under contract on their first home together. So my wife and I got them a $100 gift card to Home Depot. I remember when I first bought my first home, there was a lot of home improvement stuff, and I made about 100 trips there. So I thought it would be a nice gift. She asked Katie what they got for their wedding, and she told them. Now she felt a certain way about our gift to them. She made a comment about feeling like their marriage wasn't respected enough because they didn't throw a big party. She said it felt like I was showing favoritism. I told her I gave Katie more because she hosted my whole family, and I know how expensive that is, having paid for my own wedding. Jess kind of rolled her eyes and walked away after that interaction, and we haven't talked about it since. That was this past Sunday. I thought it would be understood that the situations were just different, and it's unreasonable to expect the same generosity when you don't give any generosity, aka hosting and feeding people, by not having a traditional wedding and not inviting us to celebrate with them. Maybe I'm wrong. Not the idiot. You got a wedding gift for the older sis partly to cover the cost of 4 plates at their wedding. For my wedding last year, which wasn't flashy, dinner was more than $100 a plate. Your $500 gift wouldn't have covered the cost of your dinner. At the end of the day, you likely helped fund their wedding and nothing more. The other sis didn't even have a wedding, so her gift is all gift. She's a major idiot for comparing the two situations. Honestly, I wouldn't have given a gift to someone who didn't have a party. That you did, and she's now saying it wasn't enough, makes her the idiot of the story. The whole cover the cost of your plate is the wedding equivalent of spend 3 months' salary on an engagement ring, i.e., BS floated by the industry to push ordinary people into justifying ridiculous expenses. If I'm paying for my plate, I'm not a guest. I'm a customer. Exactly. A wedding gift isn't tied to the cost of the event. Covering our plates is a pretty crass way to think about it. Guests aren't supposed to be paying for the party. It should be about the relationship you have with the couple. Are you also saying you would never give a gift if you didn't attend the wedding? You are the idiot. It's bad enough that you only gave a $100 gift card. The fact that you weren't going to give any gift to the eloping sister is awful. I'm not sure why she and your other sibling are comparing things at all, but of course she feels slighted. I had a 1 in a million accident and managed to tear several muscles in my chest. I couldn't sit up or use my left arm. My breathing hurt, and I won't describe trying to use the washroom. My parents came by to see me during the day while my wife was at work. I've been living in my lazy boy because I can actually get up from a lying position. After they left, I couldn't find my painkillers. I was prescribed some potent meds. I called my parents to see if they had moved them. They said they took them because they didn't want me to get addicted. I told them to bring them back immediately. They refused and told me to take some Tylenol. I hung up and called the police and told them that my parents had stolen my prescription meds. Then I called my parents and told them. They said that they would throw them out. I told them that might lead to more charges. My wife set up a camera so she could check on me from work, so they were recorded stealing narcotics. They came back immediately and returned my medicine. I thanked them, kicked them out of my house, locked them out, and then called the police to tell them that I was in error and that my parents had taken them by mistake. My parents are furious that I called the police. My sister said I was an idiot and that I could have gotten them in a lot of trouble. My wife is angry at them for stealing my medication. I'm just happy that I can function. Am I the idiot for calling the police? Well, if OP's parents don't want to be charged with committing a felony, maybe they should have abstained from committing one. Not the idiot. OP took the minimum action necessary to resolve the matter appropriately. Lying to the police was unnecessary, though. Correct. Stealing medication from your incapacitated child because, with your limited knowledge, you think you know better than them and the trained medical professionals treating them, that's a darn good way to get cut off. They're cruel and disrespectful. Tell your sister to take a Tylenol and mind her own business. Your parents could have gotten them in a lot of trouble because they committed a crime. So it's on them, not you. Pain medication is so important for the kind of pain you're in. Without it, you could be trapped in pain, kind of like a trapped animal with no way out. Besides, not everyone gets addicted. I hate that because people have become addicted, and it's hard to even get the proper medication. Why should any of us suffer because of others?